Hello and welcome. For more than 20 years, Maximum Yield has been a go-to source of information on controlled environment gardening for modern growing professionals around the world. Today, we are proud to present Social Media Marketing for the Cannabis Industry, presented by ThrivePop, an award-winning cannabis marketing agency. Be sure to get your questions into the Zoom Q&A console as we go, and we will get to them at the end of the presentation. Note that a recording of the presentation will be sent to all registrants. It is now my pleasure to introduce to you the team at ThrivePop. Take it away.
Well, thanks for having us,
Yes,
Kelly.
Thank you.
We're happy to hop on and do another webinar with you guys. So we're going to be discussing all types of tips and tricks for social media marketing for cannabis. I don't need to say it because I know all of you on here know it already, but how awful marketing cannabis on social media is. So we're going to kind of give you guys some tidbits of information that I think you can take into action items right now. And yeah, I think we're ready to get rolling. So a little bit about ThrivePop. So we are a cannabis marketing agency based out of West Michigan. We do graphic design, website development, social media, as well as like branding and logo creation, event marketing as well. We do a lot with marketing our clients for like big trade shows like MJ BizCon. And we also recognize too that the industry is constantly changing. And we are keeping up to date for you guys on the latest marketing trends, as well as, what's changing in the legal environment as well. But a little bit about me. So my name is Lindsay, and I'm the Senior Creative Content Strategist at ThrivePop. I work with all the clients mainly on their content strategy and social media side. So I'm the one helping them with determining, what's good social media campaigns, what's good blog titles for SEO, how to grow their following organically through different ways to market their cannabis business on like Facebook and Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. And helping them increase brand awareness through good content. So, and then I work right alongside Olivia.
Yes. Hey guys, I'm Olivia. I'm the Director of Marketing and Content Strategy. So I kind of help the team come up with ideas and ways that we can implement those marketing campaigns for our clients. I love staying on top of all the trends that are constantly coming out. So I love doing that. And I've helped facilitate a lot of different webinars in the cannabis area alongside Maximum Yield and HubSpot. All right. So in this webinar today, kind of what Lindsay was saying, we'll be going over a lot of stuff, a lot regarding social media, some tactics, and some great takeaways for you guys to take and to be able to implement right away. So we'll be focusing on some ways to foolproof, ways for increasing engagement, converting your social leads into sales, and increasing brand followers and impressions. And then running paid advertising. I know we're going to get into that.
Shocking. Yes.
I know.
But there is a way. If there's a will, there's a way.
Yes.
And I will share some of that later. But to kind of preface, like I said in the beginning, don't need to say it, don't need to go into it much further and say that cannabis social media marketing is very difficult. Marketing on social media in general is very difficult. Sometimes the algorithm seems like they're working against you. And especially with cannabis on Facebook and Instagram, one time that it affects, one account that says, okay, you can't market cannabis, we're going to shut you down. Well, it seems like other accounts, they're getting away with posting a ton of cannabis. So you could be feeling like you're running into a lot of roadblocks in terms of growing your social following, getting engagement, building a list of social followers, or you're possibly facing, which is like the worst thing, the dreaded ban, the dreaded social media ban. And that ban, we've all gotten this message and it's terrible. Like your pit, like get a pit in your stomach and you're like, oh my gosh, all this hard work I've done is gone. And I'm pretty sure you can actually comment below in the chat if you've received this exact message, but we're going to try and discuss some ways that you guys can potentially avoid that ban and, increase your social following effectively. So just some like statistics to kind of preface before we get into some of these tips and tricks. Social media is a place that you need to be to advertise. In October of 2022, there were 4.74 billion social media users worldwide. That is just going to continue to grow and grow and grow. And I think in the next slide here, we talk a little bit about, like where your audiences are at. Now, if we would have given this presentation a few years ago, TikTok likely wouldn't have been on that list as a major player. However, that is a major social media platform, and actually it's taking up a considerable amount of space in the social media realm. And this kind of shows too, something that's very important is when you're marketing on social media, using your resources effectively, knowing where your audience is at. So, for example, Facebook has a predominantly younger audience for female, but it's kind of, a little bit older for male. Instagram, also a young female, middle-aged male. And you can kind of see how those statistics go, and knowing where your audience is at and doing that research into those platforms will allow you to kind of better shift your focus as to where, you need to be. Which comes in handy when we get into more of the strategy and the content tactics with your buyer persona and everything.
Yeah.
So
I think another thing that's interesting to note is YouTube. I feel like a lot of people forget that is also another tool that can be used. And you can see here that this is taking up quite a bit of the graph here. So we have 2.56 billion people that are on YouTube. So, that's another way that we can be engaging with that audience and try to convert them into leads.
Yeah.
All right. So kind of getting into this just a little bit more is like trying to see which platform is going to be the most effective. So a lot of this information is from the Cannabis Marketing Association. So what they did was they surveyed a lot of cannabis businesses, and they were able to, kind of survey them and see like which of these different platforms is the most effective. So here you can see that Instagram is taking up 70% of, that graph, and it's very effective, very effective. And one that's not, I don't think would even be on our radar, probably a couple of years ago as well, is LinkedIn. There's been a lot of increase with the use of LinkedIn. And so it's just something to note that when you're thinking about your different platforms, like, okay, which one is going to work best for my business? And like you can see like the different avenues that you can take. All right, so here we're kind of talking about campaigns. So yes, we've talked about the different platforms that you can use, but a little bit further than that is like talking about the marketing and like the campaigns that you would be using to talk to those potential buyers, clients, users about. So with that survey, they also were able to look at, okay, how long should I be doing a campaign for? So 30% of people said 1 month or less. 52% said 1 to 3 months. 3 to 4 months is only 4%. And 8% of people are saying 6 months. So that sweet spot is really that 1 to 3 months. We really align with that as well. I feel like it gives enough time to be able to build trust with the people that are seeing your content, and it gives you enough time to really become that expert to them. So I'd say about 1 to 3 months is like how long you would want to run a campaign to be able to use different tactics to kind of like align with the overall messaging within that campaign.
Yeah, that's our sweet spot here too for our clients. And when we do our advertising campaigns for our clients, whether it's social media or not, we give it that minimum. Minimum, it's a month. Usually around 3 months, that's when that content starts to shift, because there is seasonality and different clients' content and everything. But we've seen 1 to 3 months. That's our sweet spot as well.
Yeah,
so
you don't want to run something too long, because then it's like, oh,
I've seen this before.
Yeah, I've seen this before. It's like, are they going to tell me anything new?
Yeah.
So yes, be within the sweet spot for sure.
Whole time.
Yes.
We'll let Kelly take this over. So we are asking all of you guys a couple questions here, and we kind of want to gauge what you guys think. So we just discussed, like, from that cannabis marketing survey, what platforms they're using that they're finding most effective. But we're curious as to what platform you guys are trying to use that you feel like you really want to put a lot of focus on in 2023. So there's Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. Also, we'll give you guys a second to
Yeah.
let us
Give
know.
us your answers.
We've, like how Olivia said, we've seen a huge shift around in terms of focus for the cannabis industry. A lot of that shift has been taken from different platforms, and in terms of what type of content's on what platform. It's no secret, obviously Instagram and Facebook are can be kind of stinkers, but yeah, we're curious as to what you guys say for this. And then for the and we're looking at the result on our screen as we speak. So interesting. We kind of figured Instagram would be a big one.
LinkedIn.
That looks about right and aligned with what we're seeing trending as well. So that is awesome. Cool. And then we have one more poll for you guys.
Let's get into poll number 2.
All right. And we're also just curious as to where you guys are from. What industry are you guys in? Are you on the manufacturing side? Do you make grow equipment? Are you guys on the grow operations side? Do you work, are you a grower? Do you work in the more business side with consulting, law, insurance, or even marketing?
Yeah.
Or, are you on the dispensary side? Are you doing a lot of customer facing things or e-commerce? So we work with a little bit of everyone in this list as well. And, we've continued to work with, ever since, we started doing cannabis marketing. It's kind of grown and grown to have a little bit of this, little bit of that. And so we're curious to see where
you guys are at,
where you guys are from. So we'll let you vote here. Awesome. Looking at the results.
Okay. A lot of grow operations, manufacturing.
Awesome.
Okay. We love to see that.
Love to see it. Yeah.
Cool. All right.
So we're going to get into some more meat of the presentation. So thank you guys for submitting your poll questions. And once again, too, if you guys have questions throughout the presentation, you can feel free to just drop them in that Q&A box too. And we'll get to them at the end. But all right. So, we established the importance of where people are at and the different social platforms and everything. And now we're going to get to some buyer personas.
Yes.
So first things first, have you guys made your buyer personas? We just discussed those social platforms and everything.
I sure do. I'm just going to.
I think we got some overlap with some speaker there, but so buyer personas, first things first, have you made those? So yeah, if we're talking I want to focus like what you guys just said, I'm focusing on Instagram.
Right.
Well, who are those users that you're focusing on Instagram? What does that audience member look like? And what does that consumer look like? So on the next slide here too, we're going to give you guys like a little bit of statistics with that. And then we're going to get to some potential examples that might help you guys when you're making your buyer personas. We also want to emphasize too, that it's really important to make at least 3.
Yes.
Because, a lot of people will say, well, I want to sell to everyone, but that's not always the case.
Yes.
And not everyone is your customer.
That's true.
And that's also a hard thing too, to sometimes realize is that your product might not be for everyone. But yeah, so understanding audience behavior is the key to identifying marketing channels. Another statistic from that CMA, Cannabis Marketing Association research thing, when they assessed data from cannabis marketers from across the globe, 58% said they had conducted buyer persona research, but a good chunk of them had not.
Yeah.
But we're advising that moving forward, hopefully that will, what
that
we said
do.
here will
that
increase, will increase that. So like we said, pop tip, establish at least 3 of those personas.
Yes. Kind of piggybacking off of what Lindsay said, like you might have more than 3 personas, but we do think that it's like, you really should only be like doing like 3 to 5, because you don't, like Lindsay said, for every business that you have, you can't sell to everyone, and not every person can go into each of these different personas. So let us show you a couple of different things that we can see here. Okay, so we basically set up a couple examples for you guys. So we have 3 different ones here. The first one is natural mom. She's interested in organic products. She's aged 27 to 38 and wants to try CBD, but doesn't understand how to use it. So this is super important because you wouldn't talk to Susie the same way you would talk to someone who's probably 60 to 70 years old. They might be interested in the same product, but being able to have the same language that Susie would want to uses or would like want to digest is very important to be able to speak to her about those specific products.
Yeah. And so for Susie, you know, maybe e-commerce, she does a lot of online shopping. Maybe that's where you want to hit her, and the marketing channel you want to focus on is pushing e-commerce sales. And how do we do that? So another example to a potential buyer, let's say buyer persona, let's say you're on the manufacturing side of things, which a lot of you guys had actually voted that you're on that side of the cannabis industry. So who would that target audience for you be? A potential person might be John, the experienced grower. So John understands the science behind growing cannabis. He's very experienced and knowledgeable. You know, he's a little bit older. He's perhaps 30 to 40 years old. And he's so knowledgeable that he wants you to come to him with the statistics. So he wants to know the performance, and how these are going to actually improve his operations and what he's doing. He's very cost oriented, and he's interested in return on investment for his items. So
yeah. And third, we have Sarah, the friendly bud tender. So Sarah understands the differences between cannabis strands, and she understands, but doesn't necessarily understand the grow process. She's age 21 to 28. She's personable, and she wants to create a good customer experience. So maybe she's seeking out more information about that grow process to be able to inform her customers when she's coming in, when she is basically letting people know about the different products that they have. And understanding that grow could help her with her sale and help your business overall.
Yes.
All right, increasing engagement. It's all about the algorithm, and I cannot stress this enough. It really is all about the
playing into the algorithm.
Yes. So every time someone interacts with your Facebook or Instagram account, it signals to the algorithm that a user is engaged and is interested in content. So the more that you push those signals to the algorithm, basically it's just going to give more and more data that yes, they really do want to see this kind of content. So they're going to keep coming back. And they're just going to continue to push that user up. When they go to Instagram, maybe you might be one of the first people that they see.
And that top of feed is best real estate that you can have on social media. It doesn't matter whether Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. Our attention span is gotten so short that, I mean, and TikTok could be partly to blame for that as well in terms of the short format content. So the sooner you can grab attention, the higher up in feeds you get, the more exposure you will get every time. So,
okay,
so kind of discuss that.
Yes, approach it. Just to hone this in a little bit more, the more likes, page views, interactions, and comments your account receives, the higher you'll get bumped up to their newsfeed. So like I said, the more signals that you give, the more that you're going to be able to be viewed. And now we're going to get into some ways that you can increase that engagement right now. So you can increase your Instagram. This is a quick and easy one by utilizing Instagram stories. Basically, Instagram really wants you to use their products that they push out. So every time they come out with like a new thing, whether that's like a button or like a reaction thing or polls, that really basically is letting Instagram know like, hey, they really like these new things and like they want to see that. So I'm just going to continue to be pushed up more. So here's some more examples of those different story tools that you can be using right now. These are a couple examples from our own Instagram account. So we have the comment button here, the question module. So you can pose a question to the people that are following you and they can react, and you could either react and by posting another story, or you could DM them personally back. Any way that you do that, that's going to be another signal. Using the countdown clock, and then also just emoji reactions. So a lot of great tools. There's many more that you can use, but definitely try to utilize those in your stories.
We had done a lot of fun marketing for MJ BizCon, and we use that countdown clock often for that. You could also too, within your Instagram feed itself, which is a somewhat newer thing, is add events. So when you're posting organically, let's say you are going to MJ BizCon, you could actually set an event of you being at MJ BizCon when you post, and it's kind of similar to Facebook events in that the way you do that, but once you create that event too, you can constantly, as you're doing other marketing materials on Instagram, what have you, you can always tag that event as well.
Another thing that's cool about using that event tool is that it does signal directly to those people who have subscribed to that button. And so they'll get a notification on their newsfeed, like, oh, it's time for this event. Or if you have like an Instagram live that's about to happen, they'll get another notification that this is about to happen. All right, so Reels are key. They really are. So Instagram is really trying to knock TikTok out. So they are definitely pushing Reels more than ever. So some things to consider when you are making Reels. There's a few things, but here's 3 things in particular that we want to focus on. Your Reels length. So Lindsay kind of mentioned this already, but Reels length are something to note. I feel like right now the sweet spot for that is definitely shorter. So we've seen an increase of Reels that are around like 6 seconds, 5 to 6 seconds, that are really, those are the ones that are getting the most engagement on. And people just want to digest content that's really short and like, oh, okay, got it, on to the next, or whatever. The next thing would be Reels audio. So Instagram is a little bit difficult when it comes to their audio. It's not like TikTok where you can really search out those audios that are like you see everywhere. They're all over your newsfeed. Instagram isn't like that. So if you are thinking, oh, I want to make a reel and I want to use a reel that's doing, or you want to use the audio that's really doing well, if you see a reel audio that you like, save it immediately, because it's just hard to find it and their way that they have it set up right now. Hopefully they change it, but yes, if you find an audio that you like, save it. And then Reels timing. I mean, it kind of just goes hand in hand with Reels length, but just kind of thinking about like when you are going to post your Reels, like what's the best time of the day? When are you seeing the most engagement? All of those things kind of go hand in hand with having a good Reel that is going to give you the best engagement.
Side note too, we're talking a lot about Instagram Reels, and I'm sure a lot of you use TikTok and recognize TikTok as being a major social media platform. We have seen, we are not talking about it too much because we've seen a lot of cannabis businesses get shut down very quick on TikTok. Something with that AI is extremely smart.
It is.
No matter how sly you try and get it, they're quick to grab it. Your video can be up for 2 seconds. It just uploaded and it's already gone. So even if you're trying to be real, there's ways you can be very, very discreet with it where you're not even inferring. There's nothing in the video that shows anything related to it, but we really are focusing on Instagram Reels because in terms of video content, that has seemed to be one of the more safer spots as opposed to TikTok. If you're comparing the two, Instagram Reels seems to be a safer space in terms of that. And obviously, you know how Instagram is too, that it's kind of up in the air, but TikTok's almost a sure thing but if you can find ways to get around it and you can find ways to creatively not show product or not infer, anything cannabis related, it can work, but that's why we're kind of focusing a lot.
Yes. And we'll kind of show you in a little bit an example of something like that. One other thing to note when it comes to Reels is obviously finding Reels that are trending and like the audios are really, maybe they're really popping off. You want to jump on those. But another thing is finding those ones that are kind of on the rise, and you can just like test it out. So that's another thing that you should do is try testing things on your social to see like what's going to work best for you. So sometimes there might be a reel that's probably got like 5,000 views. Try jumping on that one and seeing if you can be like the one that is like riding that wave and like bringing it up to the top to get those millions of views.
Kind of showing Olivia's going to discuss this, but an example of one where we hopped on an audio for a client and it took off.
Yes, absolutely. So this is our client. And it went crazy, honestly. So it has almost 400,000 likes. There's 675 comments and 14 million impressions. Sometimes you just hit all 3 of those things that I was just talking about and you just hit gold and it goes viral. So just keep trying to do all of those different things and maybe you might be able to. and honestly, sometimes it's kind of like it's just a fluke
Yeah.
when it happens with Instagram.
Mhm.
But just being consistent in your posting is always going to be key.
Mhm.
Another thing is to reuse your most liked videos. For example, this video, it did go viral. So after 60 days, we like to say this content can definitely be used again.
Mhm.
Probably, maybe not. A lot of people haven't seen it in that time frame, so
Mhm.
it's definitely able to be used again. So a couple ways that you could do that is posting this video in your story again, or you
Mhm.
could also just repost the video again
Mhm.
as well. There's so many different ways that you can reuse your content, and we'll get into that too
Mhm.
in a little bit, but there's lots of different ways that you can do that.
Yes.
Use your content that you know is doing well.
Yes. And remember, um, a lot of times, a lot of businesses are focusing on pushing product, we got to make sales, but that doesn't come right away.
Mhm.
And what you're really doing is you're trying to, with marketing, relate to your consumer.
Mhm.
So you're selling that lifestyle. You're not just pushing that product. That product fits into that lifestyle.
Mhm.
But good marketing portrays how I want to live that lifestyle and how I resonate with that lifestyle, and that product is a part of it. So we'll kind of get into also the buyer's journey with gaining that trust, starting to live that lifestyle and buy into it. And yeah, something we talked about too a little bit, we're talking about, kind of want to touch on, is we're discussing all these different ways you can social market. How do I know it's successful? We also, discussing buyer personas, campaigns, which platforms you got to advertise on. This all was also taken from CMA, which we are a board member as well. We would totally recommend it to anyone who's looking to interact with other cannabis marketers.
Mhm.
But they had discussed, what type of KPIs, key performance indicators, are we looking at when we run a social media campaign? So a lot of people are looking at website traffic, as well as conversion rates. So how many people are actually submitting forms on our website? How many people are actually purchasing product? That depends too on what type of offer you have. So if you're e-commerce, you're going to probably be measuring how many sales did I get.
Mhm.
If you are a consulting business, you might be measuring form fills in terms of how many people are booking calls with us. Your dispensary, there's ways that you can target and measure store visits. A few people, 3% don't measure, they do something else. And yeah, so
6%
but
don't measure anything at all.
it's very important to measure your campaigns, because a lot of people sometimes will just run a campaign and be like, I seem like we
Mhm.
got some more web traffic. Could that have been from another factor? Does that
Mhm.
I don't know. So it's very important to measure after a campaign what kind of success you saw, because that's also going to lead you to more data, and then
Yeah.
more data, you know more of what you need to do next. So yeah. And kind of what we touched on too, in terms of gaining that trust and what that buyer process looks like in terms of selling that lifestyle. In order to convert that lead into a sale, you got to follow the marketing funnel. So tofu, mofu, bofu, this has been called a couple other different things in the marketing realm too. This is just one of the most familiar ways we recognize it. Tofu, top of funnel, mofu, middle of funnel, bofu, bottom of funnel. So different marketing tactics fall into each one of those.
Mhm.
And we'll kind of discuss that moving forward. So what falls under tofu? So top of funnel marketing. These are the people that are just getting aware and acquainted with who you are, your
Mhm.
brand, your product. So a lot of this information that is sent to them is easily digestible, as well as it's more frequent, it's more often. So blogging, social media updates, infographics, podcasts, print magazines. It's kind of like a higher level brand awareness
Mhm.
campaign. So just getting your name out there, finding ways to stay frequent and in front of them. That's tofu. Now with mofu, getting into the middle of the funnel, that's when you start to take those people that are acquainted with you and start to get them interested and take them further down the buyer's journey. So at this point, this customer has been acquainted. They understand your branding. They understand what you represent and what you're selling. Now, how does that fit into my lifestyle? Well, you're going to educate them. So you're going to use a lot of educational resources like ebooks. This is an example of one we made for a client. And using these ebooks,
Yep.
You're educating them and you're providing them valuable content that is bringing them farther and farther down the journey, as well as, using quizzes, offering discount codes and offers that will, take them down to that bottom of funnel section, as well as doing events like this, like webinars, really educating them and taking them that step further. And then BOFU, that's that bottom of funnel. And that's when you convert those leads into sales. So at that point, you are running demos, you're advertising your testimonials. Testimonials are very effective. That's when you're, that buyer is aware of what you do now. They are receiving your educational content
with them.
You're building that trust. That testimonial really hits home that trust. And not only do they see, I feel like these people know what they're talking about. A testimonial really hits home that others that are like them are getting what they need. So also selling specs and sales decks, as well as those CTA forms, having those call to actions of, booking a call, purchasing a product, everything like that. So.
All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, like Lindsay said, like you need all of those different tools to really convert a potential customer. Sometimes you might get a customer that maybe they do convert at MoFu, or maybe they just needed the top of the funnel. But having that having that funnel really is helpful to you, so that you have those resources if you need it. And honestly, just like that, BOFU is just like the last piece of the puzzle to bring everything full picture. For that potential person of, okay, yes, I'm ready to move forward. Yes, I'm ready to buy. We've built social trust with them. So we are ready to move forward. All right, so solidifying that trust in the BOFU stage, here's some questions that we have to kind of help you get your mind thinking that way. So for dispensaries, how do the cannabis products you sell help decrease pain or improve anxiety in your customers? Work on getting a case study for your cannabis brand to use in your marketing. So that will really help to build that trust to help to convert.
Let's say if you're on the manufacturing side, you're still trying to build trust. How is that different from how a dispensary builds trust? Well, if let's say you're selling grow equipment, how does that grow equipment help increase revenue in grow facilities? So presenting a lot of case studies and our information about how there's cost savings there.
A lot of specs. Yeah.
Yes, would be very important in pushing that forward, as well as for grow facilities too. If you're selling that to dispensaries, how do you build that trust? Well, you're going to sell the quality of your product, and the quality of your product also comes from testimonials, comes from relations with event marketing as well. So yeah, those are just some ways that you can build that trust. All right. As we discussed earlier,
the question of the hour,
paid advertising, can it be done? It seems, and like said, I'm sure you all have been through it with Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Google Ads, what have you. It is so tough.
It really is.
A more broad answer is Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, social media in general. Generally speaking, running paid ads is a no-no. It is risky. There are risks involved with getting your page shut down. However, we do like to mention that there are a few exceptions, depending also on where you're at within the industry. So one of these examples, we saw this ad running and I was like, man, that is the perfect way to market your business with cannabis. So this brand is a cannabis THC CBD drink. And they take the spin in terms of, we talked about earlier, you're selling a lifestyle, not a product. The imagery and the copy really push forward a lifestyle and not the fact that the product has THC or cannabis in it. So this Little Saints brand, they actually sell these really aesthetic, drinks that they market as being an alcohol alternative, and they're a way to create mocktails. So already they're selling the benefits of this product, not what we have in it. The image itself is cut off at the label that mentions that there's CBD or THC in it. There's no mention of CBD or THC in the ad copy or the image itself. And this was an extremely well done ad.
Yeah. Another thing to point out, like this ad went out around January. So they really were thinking about, okay, what does my buyer persona
Mhm.
want to see during this time. So maybe my buyer persona is wanting to get back into fitness. Maybe they're
Mhm.
wanting to cut back a little. So they're kind of hitting all of those different things that we've been kind of talking about today.
Mhm. One of the things too that we've seen is with the cannabis industry, a lot of people do want to do social media marketing and like that. Like you see other people doing it and you're like, why can't my ads pass? Why can't I figure this
Right.
out? And kind of what we mentioned earlier, sometimes some things with social media are just sheer dumb luck as well. You know, you could be doing everything right, and it just takes Instagram, Facebook, something glitching, and all of a sudden your page is shut down. So we've seen publication advertising becoming a much safer route. So for example, this ad with Maximum Yield has clear cannabis imagery, cannabis verbiage. We actually designed this ad. And it's a way to get it out to the masses, to your target audience, likely, who is consuming this type of media.
Yes, and you're able to use the language that you want to use, the language that you know that your buyers want to know specifically, without having to kind of jump through those social media hoops. You can kind of just speak freely when you're using these kind of publications.
Yes. And typically too, when you advertise with these publications, there's a lot of different advertising opportunities digitally too. I know we touched on Google Ads as well. Google Ads is also another tough spot. You might be able to get away with some things. However, you know, and Google is also willing to, like, if you do try it and you do feel like you do everything right, you mess up. Sometimes Google will give you another chance. However, with Facebook and Instagram, I'm sure you all know, it's like you're done. You're cut off. So when you do this publication advertising, there's a lot of opportunities to advertise digitally as well. So, you know, doing sponsored banners, emails, webinars, light boxes, and more. So you can even see, for example, for our webinar, how we dominated digitally as well for this event, and it hit all of you. You know, so it's extremely effective to do this type of advertising. And we've seen a lot of great results with it. Yeah, amazing results.
Yes. So here you can kind of see some of these different results that we've been able to get through print designs, dedicated emails, and dedicated email blasts. Again, these are just some designs that we've done. You can see like the open rate, the downloads that we've been able to get, and that's all through using publication advertising. So there's a lot of different options out there, and if you need help with that, we can help you.
Yes.
Okay, so make it easier on yourself and don't reinvent the wheel. So I know I said that we were going to touch on this a little bit more, but really the best tool is to repurpose your content. And so we made this graph, and I'm going to kind of take you guys through this a little bit of how you can reuse your content. So for example, we have this blog, and it was 17 reasons to use UV Grow in your greenhouse. So we started with a blog, which is like that larger piece of content. It's easily to digest. There's, you know, great information that you can grab from it. And then we said, okay, how can we take this one step further? Great. So we took that and we made an ebook. In the ebook, we can get a little bit more thorough. We have the ability to expound upon things, maybe even show more specs, more pictures, more imagery, because with a blog, obviously you want it to be, and to a certain degree, you want people to be able to read through it and not just exit out without reading the whole thing. So with the ebook, you kind of know like, oh, these people actually do want to know this information, so they've downloaded the ebook. And then taking that one step further, you can use that ebook for an email drip. So what we did was we said, okay, how can we do this? So we took the 17 reasons and we said, we're going to do this in a campaign. So for the 17 reasons, we did one reason probably around each week. So remember when we were talking about that length for how long you should run a campaign. So right here we have 17 weeks, which is kind of like within that 1 to 3 months of how long you should be using content. So, you know, we're kind of using all the tools that we're telling you guys to do. So we have that email drip that we can drip out. And then we also can use that for social. So whether we want to do 2 posts a week about the 17 reasons, or we want to have something that we can beef up our link in
Mhm.
bio. We have that content ready to go there.
Mhm.
So we're kind of hitting all the different stages, and we did all of that from just one blog.
Mhm.
So find ways that you can use content that you already have created, and okay, how can I break this up? How can I splice this out to be able to provide this to my customers? How can I be able to provide this to my different personas in a way that maybe they want to, see that content? So be thinking about like what content that you already have, and how you can kind of disperse that out. But that's the
Mhm.
king, repurpose content.
Yes.
All right. So in conclusion, thank you for listening.
Yeah.
You guys made it. I hope that you were able to, obviously grab a lot of those tips. And if you have any questions, definitely this is the opportunity where you want to start putting those
Mhm.
questions in the Q&A. But yes, so
You should
Lindsay-
work with us.
yeah. Lindsay, you want to go into
Yeah.
a little bit more about what
Yeah.
we do?
Yeah. So we do just about everything. We talked a lot about social media here, but with our experience in the cannabis industry, we've able to just expand it past social media as well. So we work with clients on marketing strategy, graphic design, consulting, branding, content creation, so photography, videography, as well as SEO and PPC.
Yes. So
So
if maybe you might not need social media, we have a lot of different services that we can provide to you to definitely help with your overall marketing. One of the things that we always like to say is that we want to be an extension of your marketing team. So like you would see us as a member of your team. Yeah. So here's a couple of people that we work with. Maybe you know them. They're pretty well known in the cannabis industry. So, we have testimonials from any of these. We have some case studies, and you've been able to see probably some of their examples throughout the presentation as well.
Yeah. You won't regret it. But also too, if you guys want more, we said we worked with those clients. We actually have a lot of those case studies on our website as well. And we actually just recently launched a new website that we designed.
Yes.
Miss Olivia was working very hard at that for months. So go check it out, thrivepop.com. And you go to the portfolio page, and we have a lot of testimonials as well as case studies you can download there with numbers and everything like that. So
Yes, more tips and tricks.
Yes. But as a thank you
Yes.
for attending, we want to give you guys an ebook download, but also just a little bit extra, a little bit more. So if you scan this QR code, or if you go to the link thrivepop.com/feb-web-2023, you can download the Ultimate Cannabis Marketing Rulebook and get entered to win 10 free hours with us of marketing support. So these 10 free hours can be used towards anything. It can be used towards social. It can be used towards social strategy. You want
Consulting.
you want some social consulting. You have a page that's currently banned, and you want to help, figure out what are the next moves that I got to do.
Yeah.
As well as if it's anything outside of social as well. Maybe you're more interested in doing some email marketing right now, or marketing automation.
Yeah,
We
maybe
can
you
help.
need to like refresh your branding, anything like that. That would all fall within that realm. So 10 free hours, guys.
Yes.
So
So
hop on that.
yes, make sure. And also too, what we're doing is make sure you scan this and enter it right away, because we will be picking the winner soon. But we will be sending updates to this as well. And follow us on social as well. Just check out our fun marketing things we're doing. So, and I think with that, we'll wrap it up and start taking some questions.
Yes.
Great. Thanks so much for sharing your expertise with us today. A quick reminder to get those questions in. I see them ding, ding, dinging in right now. So without further ado here, let's get started. Our first question here talks about cross-posting the same content, which you guys covered towards the end of the presentation here. But what tips do you have for how you adjust the content for each different platform when you use it? Like, how do you go about making sure that you have the content customized for each platform?
Right. I think a lot of that comes from understanding each platform as well. So early on, when we discussed, even just broad demographics of those platforms, but also understanding how content is formatted on those and how people consume content on those. So, for example, if you're posting content on Instagram and you feel like it should be cross-posted on Twitter, recognizing that people consume Twitter in tidbits of information that's fast and quick
Mhm.
and relatively short. So let's say your Instagram caption is shorter, but there's a link in bio. Twitter is a more link driven app as well, not as image driven. So maybe disincluding that picture and making sure you're including that image. LinkedIn too, LinkedIn is more, the posting platform itself asks for more context heavy posts. So those posts are typically longer. Let's say you're using your scheduling platform and you're scheduling a Facebook post, but you also want to schedule it on LinkedIn. Perhaps that Facebook post is only, a few sentences long, while the LinkedIn one gets more in depth.
Yeah. The other thing that basically understanding the platform and also the demographic that's on each of those platforms. So like if you are trying to reach maybe that Gen Z, that older Gen Z people, then you might want to use TikTok because that is the platform that they are using. So understanding the demographics for each platform as well.
Yeah. And recognizing too that maybe the content isn't good for each platform.
Yeah.
Maybe this really needs to only live on LinkedIn right now, or maybe it really only needs to live on Twitter. I know we talked about how, trying to get the most out of your content as possible, but sometimes the content does just call for, it's an Instagram, it's very visual heavy. It's got to live on Instagram.
And that's okay too.
Yeah. And that is okay. Yep.
Fantastic. This next question here asks, what is the best way to get behind developing customer personas?
Well, I think there's a lot of different ways that you can do it, but I think the best thing to do would be to honestly just to start with those three. Like we said, is figuring out, okay, who are the people when we think about our brand, like who are we trying to sell to? And obviously somebody's going to come to mind of the person that you would think of who you're going to be buying, whether that is like a CEO that you need to talk to if you're in the manufacturing side. Really thinking about that, I think, is really key to kind of start to figure out that lane. The other thing is when you're building out those personas is start thinking about the attributes of those different people of like, okay, what do they like to do? What do they, how do they, I mean, we kind of like to go a little bit further, like, what do they wear? And like, kind of like understanding them, really tapping into their mind. I think helps to really build out that persona.
Yeah. And especially too, if you're really new to building personas, starting with like a few key things of like, what gender are they? Are they, what age group do they belong to, as well as just outlining some interests. I think even just that as a starting point, you see that and you start to even get more and more and more in depth in terms of what type of things you want to target. So yeah.
One other thing I'll just say is if you are trying to figure out your personas and you don't have anywhere to start, if you already have an Instagram platform, within the analytics tools, there's ways that you can already see the demographics that you have. So if you just have like no idea of like where that is, start there. Whether it's on your Instagram or maybe it's like your website traffic through Google Analytics and just seeing, okay, here's my demographic. And then you can start to try to identify those buyer personas from with that starting point.
Yep. Yeah.
Great. I think this next one's actually pretty relatable to no matter the size of your team here, but how often do you recommend posting on social media? As a one-woman marketing department, I'm finding myself getting overwhelmed with social media.
Oh, I understand.
Yes. I think we've all been there. And like a lot of clients we deal with too are usually like, I'm a one-person team trying to do marketing. I'm trying to do the branding. I'm also there selling. And I think one of the best ways, if you are a one person team, is to define like which platform you want to focus on most. So figuring out, Instagram's really my focus. Like, I'm sorry, I don't have the resources right now to also be posting different types of content on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube as well. I think taking it that first step and just finding what platform you want to focus on, because that allows you to really get into the tools and everything that that platform has to offer. And you could focus on building it up there. And then as you grow and expand, that's when you start to tackle the other platforms. As well as too, I personally believe quality content over quantity of content any day. So if you're posting every day on Twitter and it's not content that people resonate with, and it's just content for the sake of content, well, that's not going to help build your following anyway. So really focusing on how you can churn out quality content over the amount of content that you turn out is much more important, because it is what the engagement and the likes and comments, that is what drives page success, no matter what platform you're on. And that's not going to come if the content's not good. You know, you can be posting 10 times a day, but if none of it's good, none of it's going to affect your page at all.
I was actually just going to say that I was just reading a new report that had just came out about how, you know, whether it's you are posting 10 times a day, like Lindsay said, being consistent and figuring out, okay, here's what's going to work for me right now, and just being consistent with that. I think that Instagram is like, okay, well, they post every week, that, you know,
consistency enough.
It's consistency. And that honestly helps trigger the algorithm too.
Great. I hope this next question asker is going to enter to win the 10 free hours of marketing support, because that's probably a better answer to this question. But I'm wondering if you guys can give us sort of a brief understanding of how you would typically go about laying out a campaign for a specific product.
It depends on the product.
Yeah.
Depends on the product. It depends on that type of industry you're in as well. There's a lot of things that need to be determined first. Those buyer personas also need to be determined first. Laying out that groundwork.
Yeah, that's typically where we would start, is probably with the buyer personas and kind of establishing those, because that really helps us identify, okay, this is the kind of messaging that we need to have. And then also, okay, but if it is a specific product that you are trying to sell, like, okay, what is the end goal? Are we just trying to get this person to buy this? Are we trying to get them to be a return user? Like what's the goal? So I would say buyer personas, we'd start there. And then secondly would be establishing the goal that we're trying to achieve with that particular product. So
yes, it's not a cookie cutter, one size fits all too. It's just case by case basis. What are those goals? And, you know, who are we trying to sell to is the big one. So
that's a pretty good summary. A little more practical here. How would you go about finding Reels audio for business accounts?
Well, when you are on Instagram, you know, typically like you are finding, well, I guess what we've seen is like the people that we see in our, like, what is it, the news feed or
your like Reels tab.
They probably have similar content to what you or on that user are seeing. So I would say just continue to like look in that discovery page. That's what I was looking for. Continue to look through there and see what is trending. The other thing is I have also found, honestly, just using my own personal TikTok or Instagram account to see, like, to diversify the kind of things that I'm seeing. And another tip I would say is I will message the audios or the Reels to my business account, because sometimes you just don't see that same kind of content. It might give you a better result because those audios are better. So just being aware, and I think always like having the kind of, oh, that would be good for this, or, oh, I know exactly how I could use this audio. It could work perfect for this. So I guess just kind of being aware of the different things that are going on and figuring out like how you can use it for your business.
A number of questions around the topic of having been banned. So if someone has been banned, but they follow the rules, is there any way they can get their account back?
Yeah, there is a shot that you can take. So we found this, and it's kind of funny because I think Facebook wants you to navigate other resources before they have to use their own resources and their own helpline to help you out.
That's true.
They will do whatever it takes to have you not contact them, but real deep in the weeds, there is a Facebook support live chat you can do, which I know is probably like really shocking to people, as well as there's like people that will call you from Facebook that will help fix the problem. So, saying, hey, I believe my page was wrongfully shut down. I've done nothing to violate Instagram, Facebook's rules or regulations. Can this page be reinstated? This is something too you can message us directly about. and we can be happy to assist you in that as well. But we have found that most times you contact Facebook support, tell them like, hey, I think Facebook made a mistake. Most times they'll reinstate what's happening. So unless it was a very, the page is extremely weed centric or there's red flags right out the gate, they might not. But a lot of times we've been able to get accounts reinstated through that Facebook chat. So.
Yeah, and this is just another tidbit. So when you have your Facebook and Instagram accounts connected, sometimes whether or not you are doing something on Facebook or Instagram, if they are connected, sometimes one can shut down the other. So being very aware of like, this just be aware of like the content that you're posting on both of those, because obviously that they are connected. So yeah.
What about influencer marketing? Do you have any tips on influencer marketing, how to get started, thoughts in general?
I love influencer marketing. That is like my favorite thing. I personally, even just in my own personal feed, I follow so many influencers and I take a lot of products that I buy from what influencers say. So TikTok really also brought up the rise of influencers and really solidified them as a major selling factor on social. One of my favorite ways to start discovering how I want to work with influencers is just looking at the accounts that I like. Maybe it's on your business feed, or even if it's on your personal and you're interacting with weed centric content. Are there influencers out there that are getting good engagement and they kind of fit with your brand aesthetics? They need to be aligned that way too. If you're a very organic feeling brand and you're collabing with someone who is very maybe like glossy and superficial appearing, or is into merchandise heavy marketing, that might not be a good line right there. So really just looking through your own feed as well as your business feed, and just discovering accounts that you like. And when you discover the accounts that you like, typically, building an influencer program around that is either gifting free product in exchange for social posts.
Yes.
Or a cash payment as well. So we've seen success too. We actually did a webinar about this with, I want to say, Cannabis Summit. That was about micro influencers and just cannabis influencers in general. But micro influencers are those people between 1,000 followers and 10,000. A lot of data is proving that the smaller the influencer, typically the more pull they have with an audience. So
yeah, they have because it's smaller, I feel like the audience feels like it's like more intimate and they can be more real. So they just build more trust with them that way. And I think also with those smaller influencers, they can respond in the comments faster because there's not millions of them. Right. So they're, you can get more real and actually get to that specific person and they don't feel so removed.
Yeah. Like Kendall Jenner is not effective marketer, even though she has, you're like, well, why not? She's got 10 million followers. Like, isn't that great? Pushing content that is going to resonate with your audience. And those micro influencers have built that trust over a long period of time, typically as well. And those people feed into their lifestyle. They sold that lifestyle, and whatever, if you're doing influencer marketing where your product is a part of their lifestyle, that has more pull than a big celeb where it doesn't quite make sense, or a huge influencer where, this doesn't seem like a product they would use, so. And they're also, no doubt, they're getting a million they're doing ads all the time. Right. How do I know this is genuine? So we've seen a lot of success with working with micro influencers, and starting with what kind of content you want to see. So yeah,
that's great. It's a really good answer. This next question you did touch upon a little bit with the drink example that you showed. So that was a very good illustration of it. But in general, because cannabis related images can't be posted on Instagram, how can you use Instagram to trigger interest and to get growers interested in a brand if the image of cannabis is so central to your product? So do you have any tips? That was on the product side. Do you have anything more perhaps on the sort of grower side? Any tips or hints there?
That is a little bit more difficult. We see a lot of growers a lot of advertising on Instagram, and but it, like you said, it can be a little luck of the draw. So sometimes, growers will be posting a lot of cannabis imagery as well as cannabis reels and everything, things that are heavy bud focused as well. That have been fine, while others, they do it once and they get shut down. So I think on that side, you could even focus on team oriented content.
Yeah, I feel like it kind of just goes back to that lifestyle thing. Obviously every grow facility might be a little bit different, and they probably have, they have their own flavor and, style that they bring to it. So I think it would be more so like tapping into that a little bit more of like Lindsay said, like posting more of your team, posting more of the people, the types of people, that would be consuming your product. That's just gonna be able to find more. Like, people will be able to find that more and be like, oh, that person, that looks like me. I want to be like that person. I want to use that product. So I guess I would just say that.
Get them to buy into your vibe almost. So
Yes.
get them to buy into your brand, your grow vibe, your personality.
Yes.
Like you said, the flavor that you bring to your cannabis grow operation. And showing that through the people interacting with each other, or, maybe they're talking to the camera or having a fun time at the facility that's not so bud centric, using audios on reels that fit in with that aesthetic and that vibe as well. I think is very important. So that would be our best recommendation for that.
That works. That's great. Well, we're coming to the end of the presentation here, and I think we have time for one last question.
Okay.
We did not get to every question, but don't worry. You are able to definitely get in touch with Thrive Pop if you have something that we weren't able to touch on today here as well. They'll be able to get the questions that we've asked here with who's asked them. And the presentation will be sent out. We have lots of questions asking if the presentation will be sent out. It will be sent out to all registrants shortly, so that's good. Our last question here for today, though, is talking about user-generated content. We all know how important great testimonials and reviews are. How do we get good ones?
Honestly, a good email marketing campaign is great. Especially with like Google, if you're trying to drive Google reviews, there's actually within your Google My Business account, there's a button that you can use to copy a short code like URL, like a little bit.ly link. And being able to text that, post it on social, or send it via like an email blast is really, really a good way to do that.
I think the other thing is, like, if you know of people who have enjoyed using your products and they just haven't given you a testimony and asked for it. There's a lot of times where we've worked with people who are like, oh my gosh, we love, what you do. We love how you helped us grow. They're not physically typing that out to us, but if we ask and say, hey, can we send you something and you fill out to give us a testimonial, and they do. I feel like if the people really enjoy your product and love it as much as they say, they will fill out for it. So I think it's just as simple sometimes as just asking.
Yes. Yeah. And I think too, giving them something is really nice, and it shows that you appreciate them. And usually people don't have a problem giving a testimonial, even if you didn't have that too. So leverage those happy customers, because more often than not, they're willing to give you something for it. So yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks for that. With that final question coming through, that brings our webinar today to a close. As I mentioned, please feel free to reach out to Thrive Pop with any additional questions. Their contact information will make their rounds in that email of the presentation that will be sent shortly. Thank you for joining us today, and until next time.
Bye, guys. We'll talk to you soon.